It's WrestleZone. We on the net. Boom, 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 boom. What's up? I'm Kev Kellam. This is our WrestleZone Wrap-Up for Impact Wrestling. Maybe one of the most talked about episodes of Impact Wrestling ever, if not the last few years. Maybe the biggest episode since they've been on Spike TV. Yeah, that long ago. Many networks ago. What's up? I am not alone. Joining me on screen from Tampa Bay, Florida, by way of another wrestling website he'll likely mention at some point during this show, Mr. Robert DeFelice. Robert, how are you feeling the impact of Kenny Omega?
I think we definitely are, Kevin. I think we are definitely feeling the impact of Kenny Omega in Impact.
All right, joining us, the boss man, Bill Pritchard. He's not from Cobb County, Georgia, like Big Boss Man. No, he's from the East Coast. Mr. Bill Pritchard. Bill, how big of a night was it for Impact Wrestling? Incredible numbers for them, and now people are very interested in what those ratings are going to be for them.
It was huge.
Huge numbers.
I mean, and this is not
Impact Wrestling won bigly.
They're hiding those ratings. There was a ratings dump at 3 a.m. They're hiding our ratings. Recount.
Hey, watch. We're going to get comments like, oh, this is a political podcast again.
Oh, yeah.
Do you guys remember the
Tony Khan? Great, man.
Do you remember the Samoa Joe Biden meme I posted?
Oh, yeah. When the election called, I know we're getting into this stuff. Don't worry, guys. We'll talk about AEW Impact. When the election was called on a Saturday afternoon, Bill Pritchard had a fun time on Photoshop and put up Joe Biden with the United States Championship.
I think that's great.
And there were a lot of Trump fans that were not happy with us. Let's just say that we had a lot of people that were just not feeling the meme dream here. What's up, everybody?
The funny thing about that was, usually you have like 3 sides to every story, but this was clearly pro-Trump people being pissed off, or just let the guy post. It's his webpage. There was no nobody was like, oh yeah, Joe won. Like, yeah. It was like, just let him go. It's his webpage.
All right, let's get on it. Kenny Omega appeared on Impact last night with Don Callis. This was teased from the get-go. This was the most talked about thing coming out of a very eventful episode of All Elite Wrestling last week on TNT, a huge platform, one of the major cable channels. And here is Impact, a company that for many years has not been seen as the number 2. For many years, they were the number 2. They were on Spike TV. They were TNA. They were drawing 2 million people. Less than 10 years ago, they had 2 million people watching their show every week. They've been ping-ponged around cable ratings, and we're on a Pursuit Wrestling outdoor hunting channel. And then eventually their parent company, Anthem, through many ownership changes and lawsuits and all these different things, buys a station that has New Japan Pro Wrestling on it, is sort of a destination for hardcore wrestling fans. And they start to carve out their own thing, and they have their own pirate ship and are starting to get this thing back together. And the wrestling landscape changes with All Elite Wrestling, become the definitive number 2 wrestling company in North America. And now they're working together. And you have that connection through Kenny Omega and Don Callis. This was laid out at the end of the show. They sold this thing from the beginning of the show to the end of the show. Kenny Omega's here. Kenny Omega's here. And I do think it overshadowed a lot of the show to the point where they even overshadowed the Impact Wrestling champion. I think that's kind of the idea. Robert, what did you think of it? We can go right into it. The show closing promo on a luxury bus. Only one person was allowed to go on that bus, was Josh Matthews. What was he going to reveal? It was a plan. It was all a plan.
They revealed a whole lot of nothing. Like, they said nice words, but it didn't move the story at all. It was just like, hey, cool, Kenny is here, and this is going to be a thing moving forward. But I didn't get the vibe of like, oh, okay, now we know what the next stage is going to be. A lot of references to Lex Luger and how he's going to be arriving to Dynamite tonight, and it's going to be very Lex Luger-ish. Now here
he's going to wear a blouse. He's going to wear a blouse. That's what's going to happen. He's going to wear a blousey shirt like Lex did in 95.
I'm guessing he's coming in on a helicopter like Lex did when he got from Yoko. I don't know. We'll see. Look, I think this was awesome for all involved, except you're right, Kevin, it does overshadow everything Impact. And if they even remotely knew that this partnership was coming, they should have never done that, like, who shot Bravo nonsense. Like, none of this fits. But I think you do have some cool crossover partnerships. The fact that they trended number 1 overall says, hey, Kenny Omega's a big deal. And I'll be real, like, a few lesser known guys and appearances by Kenny Omega and the Elite, it's kind of what I thought AEW was going to be in the beginning. So the fact that they got it to trend to number 1 on a Tuesday night, I think says a lot for the star power of Kenny Omega, in spite of a lot of naysayers.
Let's actually break it down here, Bill. This was a lot of inside references in this promo that ended the show. There was wrestling on the show. There was some great wrestling on the show. There was a lot of people, I think, watching Impact for, if not the first time in a long time, checking out this show. And they wanted to play to that smart-ass wrestling fan who's been watching wrestling for a long time. They mentioned, as Michael is texting in here on screen, they mentioned Dean Ambrose. They said that Josh Matthews at one point was a Stanford stooge. And they made all these inside references. Did it get home that there is a further collaboration going on here between AEW and Impact Wrestling? Because we did get to see the AEW president on the show, but what did you think of the show closing segment? Was it exciting? Was it worth sticking around 2 hours for?
It was all for the Mizarks, Daddy.
You just went Johnny Swinger on me. Come on, I'm trying to get serious ESPN analysis, talking head program. We go to Bill Pritchard and the East Coast, and you go, Ms. Ass.
I don't think that that's what they were going for. I think this was very much like, we'll do some inside baseball. Although my favorite thing with Kenny Omega going, oh, here, you can have his nameplate. You're close with Ambrose. I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
Donnie Skaggs. Look at this name. Donnie. What a name. Donnie Skaggs. Donnie Skaggs, like someone who sold your brother weed in high school. Go get him, Donnie Skaggs. I got Bill. I cracked Bill once. He goes, Donnie's texting me. You're saying it felt like Kenny grabbing his inner flair with the luxury bus and the arrogance while turning the cleaner mode. Yeah, we did get a little bit of Kenny the Cleaner, that I'm holier than thou type character here, Bill, didn't we?
This guy has a picture of his kids with Santa Claus, and you're saying he sells weed.
Hey, those kids gotta have a good Christmas. For the people listening on the podcast, people texting the show, and their Facebook avatar pops up on screen right up here. So that's what Bill's referencing here. Hey, those kids got to get Christmas.
He says, I do sell weed.
Oh, we're having a good one. We're having a banger show already here. Where is this going? Because
I have no idea where this is going.
I'm gonna get an email from Bill after the show. But no, where is this going? Because in this promo, he's mentioning that he's won all the championships. They mentioned New Japan. They mentioned his conquests around the world. This is all part of some elaborate plan. Don Callis didn't just come to Impact to be the color commentator. He came to bring Kenny there and dominate everything. So are we going to see Kenny Omega versus someone in Impact? There's some allusion to that. You know, before this segment, they had Rich Swann just trying to go into the parking lot, and some stooge in a polo shirt saying he can't go there because they've blocked off the entire parking lot. Josh Matthews can, but the Impact Wrestling World Champion can't leave the building because someone told him not to in a polo shirt. He looked like a total geek. Rich Swann is your Impact Wrestling Champion, and he looked like a dork. He won a match on the show, but the last thing you see with him is him being told by someone in a polo shirt he can't go through a door, and he's the world champion. Where are they going with this? Is there Swann versus Omega? Is Omega versus somebody else in Impact? What's the next big thing? Because it looks like Impact really benefited from this. They really got a lot of attention last night.
The thing you have to remember is everything's already taped.
Yeah.
So anybody expecting like Kenny Omega to have a match on Impact is probably very disappointed. But I mean, short of saying like, read our website more, and you know, all these people that are reporting like, oh, it's a 4-minute pre-tape and it's just an interview, blah, blah, blah. Like everything's already taped. So plus COVID. So, you know, you have to factor all this stuff in. Like,
Bill, read the text on screen. Bill, read the text on screen, please, Bill.
Donnie says, that's hilarious. I do sell weed. But he said joking. Then he said joking, of course.
I'm sorry. God bless you, Donnie. God bless you. Continue to watch the show.
But I don't see any matches happening until the next taping just for that reason, unless an Impact guy like invades AEW, because they're taping in Jacksonville every week, and not for nothing, like it would seem like the protocols are a little more invasive, I guess. Like I don't
with COVID,
I can't say anything about really what Impact's testing is. Like the only thing we really know is one of the guys did an interview this summer, and he was just saying like they isolate for 2 weeks before they do testing and temp checks when they get there, but then AEW has like the whole bracelet thing where you need the 2 bracelets to even get on the property. So I think if you're expecting a match soon, it's going to be on Dynamite with an Impact guy. Maybe it's the Good Brothers, but I'm really curious to see where the Lex thing goes tonight, because you would think it's, like the Nitro thing where he just shows up.
Right. So I heard that and I was like, all right, I got to figure out who's not working with a contract. I was quickly told mostly everybody working there is working with a contract, so that's not likely. But that doesn't mean they can't present the illusion of somebody just, hey, Sami Callihan's suspended, or isn't he, or something like that. Maybe he just shows up on Impact or on Dynamite and beats up Jon Moxley. I don't know. The problem is they have a very thin group of guys who can actually match Kenny Omega in terms of in-ring ability or star power. Most of that star power issue is the big problem here, because you said it, Rich Swann looks like a geek. Rich Swann looked like a geek compared to Eric Young. He looked even more like a geek now.
Yeah. It'll be interesting what the next move is here. But the benefit, as I mentioned, was to Impact to get this much needed exposure. They are distantly far down the spectrum of stuff there on what is going on here with their distribution of their content. So now you look at what's going on with them getting exposure last night, marketing wise. They got to trend worldwide on Twitter. I don't know if they could do that on their own, Robert, right? They did that because they got the Kenny Omega effect, the AEW effect, 53,000 active viewers on Twitch. Then Impact makes the day of move of, we know you're trying to find this channel. You may not be able to get it. We're going to put it on YouTube and Facebook after it airs live so we can get the TV viewership.
Insane.
That was a day of move. So, I mean, they saw the groundswell of people wanting to know what Kenny was going to say. And there is something to be said for what the AEW effect is here. Let's not get it twisted. This was a big deal for Impact. They had to work around, as we've already mentioned, it seems like they had to work around what was already taped and get Kenny Omega in there. They definitely redid the commentary. You could tell the commentary was so heavy on Kenny Omega's here tonight. Kenny Omega's here tonight. But Bill, what does this do for Impact in the long run? Did they look like a bigger product because Kenny Omega was there? Or do they just look like, here is Kenny Omega throwing down upon the people who deserve it, the peasants? Like, what do you think here?
I kind of think a little of both. I think based off of 1 week, it's great for their short-term numbers. I think they hope that they retain some of the audience that they got last night, which would be great. I don't know what their expectations are. If they're like, okay, if we get, a 20% increase long-term, or obviously they want just anything more than they have. But I think before the whole thing's over, they absolutely need to make Impact look a little more major league, just because of the whole, like, the Rich Swann thing. Like, it's fine if it's Kenny and Don doing it and saying, like, you're beneath me, because that's their character. But as far as company to company, it doesn't benefit either one to belittle the other, because then why are you working together? If, why are you working with the minor leagues if you're up here? So I think there has to be some sort of balance to end the whole thing.
Well, this brings me to another big moment, and we'll talk about the matches here.
And I don't mean 50-50 booking either. I just mean you need to find a way to elevate the company.
Yeah, Impact can't walk away from this looking less than
you
what
could
they
just
were
buy
doing.
them.
Yeah. Well, that brings us to this. We knew early in Monday into Tuesday that there was a possibility of more of an AEW effect on the show than just Kenny Omega in a taped interview. News was getting out. There is versions of the show that some press get, and some press decided to not follow a press embargo, which is on good conscience of Impact Wrestling to say, here, check out our show. And stuff was just getting out. Robert, you have a comment here. One of the things that got out was Tony Khan's presence on this show.
Well, I was just gonna say that we do get the screeners. I'm pretty sure we've said that on this show before.
Yeah, I think we said it once or twice. Yeah,
and some sites are just gonna run it early. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
It's one of those things where Tony Khan being on this show is a complete surprise to me. I thought it was the funniest thing on the entire show. And him just casually going, there's some rumors I might even buy Impact, was the greatest thing that's happened in AEW or Impact in 2020.
Bill, what about
I love that.
You
like
love
that was like, I know everybody was there for Kenny, but again, like the was just great because it was like for so long they were like, oh yeah, Tony's not going to be an on-air character, and like, that's fine. But this kind of played into it a little bit where he's like, like, oh, I'm the owner. I can throw my weight around. I can throw my money around. Like, and I like that he acknowledged that. And then like, it almost was kind of lost on me. Like, I honest to God forgot Tony Schiavone ever did anything with TNA. So like,
he did one night. He did one night.
But that's what I mean. Like, I don't like the actual show or the actual, like anything that happened on that show is lost on me. But like, I know, like literally, like he was like, oh, a cup of coffee, and then I quit the business. So like, that was great because I know getting him back into wrestling, like, thank you, Conrad. P.S. Like that was a whole thing, but like I thought that was hilarious because I know he was just kind of like dejected, and he said on what happened when, like I was done with WCW, like I did a handful of shows and then I quit and I did like, the football for Georgia and all that. But like this was just great because, they didn't disparage Impact that much.
They were trying,
but they
got close there.
But they set the right tone with the vintage look, and it came off like an infomercial. It was meant to be cheesy, but still promoted Dynamite in the right way. So I liked everything about this. I actually wish they would have ran a second one to kind of drive home the whole "we're better than you" thing.
Maybe we get more of these in the weeks ahead of whatever this storyline is going to be. Now, this prompts a question. Wrestling Battle, watching on YouTube months ago. My question is, are we going to see brand versus brand? Are we going to see more? Are we going to see more of these people interacting? Immediately, you had Jordan Grace, one of the most prominent knockouts in Impact Wrestling. I almost said TNA. She's involved in this knockouts title tournament, this tag title tournament. She immediately was on Twitter saying, I want to wrestle this person in AEW. I want to wrestle this person. This is my dream thread here. And you had a lot of people saying that right away. They want to see Chris Bay goes over there. Cody Rhodes has been on he's been on record saying that Chris Bay was a guy that got away from them in terms of somebody that they wanted to sign. He signed with Impact. And then you have also veteran talent there. You have established guys like Sami Callihan is a guy that people think would be a really fun character to see in AEW. Robert, is there a chance that there's more interaction here? I know we say it's taped, but I'm just being fantasy booking here.
Of course
it's the question everyone wants. It's a fun ship to put your dip in, man. Vice versa. Where do we go with this? And there's a lot of different combinations on the table.
It's clearly going to happen. I think people forget at this point Cody was in TNA, and when he first left WWE, he was almost just one of those, oh, it's great Impact, and that'll be my life. Brandy and Allie started their thing there. There's the Allie and Rosemary stuff you can go down. Maybe Allie shot Bravo. That would have been a fun little hook. who really knows? I think there's definitely going to be some stuff there. I think the Good Brothers are going to cross over all over the place because they can.
Yeah.
I think New Japan will get involved before you know it because they've got the Good Brothers, they've got Moxley, they've got this one and that one. It's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, what happens when they split apart? I know I'm skipping to the end of the story, but like at some point you can't do this forever. You got to split apart. And how can everybody come out looking awesome?
I think it's an interesting time to do it too with no fans. So you're doing this relatively with no fans. At least, I mean, you could say Dynamite is going to draw the limited capacity that they can. This isn't going to be drawn out, Bill, into that summertime when we're talking about people being back at live events with the time frame that the Center for Disease Control in the United States is kind of set. I don't think you're going to see these wrestling promotions go overseas, but is this something where maybe we get a little bit of it and then there's some live event version of this? I don't know. What's the cap of this? Robert brings it up. What is the cap of what they can get out of this?
Honestly, I think maybe it's done by like February.
I could see that too. Yeah.
I think they can go back to it in the future, but as far as like a weekly thing, I don't see it happening just because COVID precautions, taping schedules.
Mm-hmm.
If you're asking for 3 promotions to get involved, it's just a lot going on. And I think for the next few weeks, we're going to get, as far as Impact's concerned, I think we're going to get more of the same with the pre-tapes just because they already taped. I don't know if this is confirmed or not, but I've heard they've taped up until Hard to Kill.
Okay, so that would be up until mid-January.
Like January 6th, I think, or what? It's the early January pay-per-view.
I almost forgot, guys. There was wrestling on the wrestling show last night.
Yeah, but it's like, and this is not a knock on anybody who performed, but that is not the meat and potatoes of this issue.
No,
the meat here is Kenny Omega and this crossover appeal. Listen, you can have a very slow burn here. You don't have to run through this in a month because they are working for separate promotions. You could have Sami Callihan show up 2 months from now and go, hey, remember that thing? There's still a thread here. You can have Sting show up on Impact and say, I'm a Hall of Famer, but I'm working over there. Like, you don't have to run through this immediately. And I'll give you a little bit of a hypocrisy on my end. I'm often talking about not wanting any other promotions to touch WrestleMania. This is the one show I think you could run head-to-head with WrestleMania, almost in the vein of like a Clash of Champions did back in the 80s. And I'd be into it.
Look at Robert coming for the big dog right away. Like I almost wanted to get Bill into the Impact card. Let's actually talk about the wrestling that Impact put on last night. But he's like, how are they going to destroy Thanos McMahon? How are they going to get together?
I think when you're so concerned about that at all times, that's one cool way to do it. It's Impact versus AEW on free TV. Never mind WrestleMania. We've got Kenny Omega versus Sami Callihan. Like
the balance of power is shifting, Bill. Isn't that quote coming up on Billy Conn? I hear so many people are tweeting that out now.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I overall I liked the show. Like they clearly were building towards Kenny Omega appearing on the show, and we've kind of gone over, them making Impact look minor league, but the matches themselves, like they have really good in-ring talent. And I think, with the right build, if they want to do a WrestleMania sized or, level show, I think they can get there. I don't think anybody really in Impact, if you put them against, like who are you going to take from Impact as far as star power to put him against Kenny Omega where he's at right now? Like nobody can do it. You can put Swan against him as a champion versus champion match, but as far as drawing power or any kind of, stuff that typically fans shouldn't care, they shouldn't care about. Like they shouldn't be like, oh, well, Kenny drew this in this quarter of the hour. That's like mostly stuff we deal with, but
yeah,
outside of like Good Brothers or the North and FTR, like the tag team scene, I think is where it is, where that crossover is really going to hit a home run.
I can see the Young Bucks running their hands together with a couple of matches,
like Young Bucks, like, Good Brothers, and the North and FTR. I think those two
Motor
matches
City Machine Guns would be a dream match with the Young Bucks. I think people would love to see that. And I think the women of AEW would really benefit from some of the fresh seasoning they would get from
benefit, but as good as Deonna Purrazzo is and as good of a year she had, like, is she a bigger star than I'm drawing a blank on who. It's not Rhea.
Yeah, see? So
that's an AEW issue when you
it's not Riho.
Yeah. But let's before we get done here, let's kind of cover the matches.
But I'm just saying, like, is she bigger of a star than Sheeta? Maybe. Is she not as big of a star just because of the platform? You could also make that argument. But I think there are women in each division. Yes, that would create great matchups. There are, the fans are going to get involved, but I feel like outside of the 2 tag matches, maybe 3 tag matches, like, you're not going to have that, huge star power that, people are speculating about.
Impact does have a major premium event this weekend on their streaming service, Impact Plus. Pretty cheap, less than $10. And they will have Final Resolution. We know that Rohit Raju, the reigning X Division champion, will have an open challenge. Plenty of different things they built to on the show within Impact. They are their own show with their own champions. And we had plenty of great action this week to build to that show. I enjoyed the tag team main event. They called it the in-ring main event, as they described, because they knew Kenny Omega was coming up here, with Willie Mack and in action in a tag team match. Chris Bay and Moose, kind of a team that were heelish but not getting along. I enjoyed where things are going. Sami Callihan is back at it with Eddie Edwards, the man he broke his eye socket. His wife came out, distracted him. Eddie Edwards attacked him from behind. I enjoyed that. I really enjoyed the singles match between Chris Sabin and Josh Alexander. The North, are they on the rocks? Is Ethan Page going to leave Impact Wrestling? That is the rumor. Are they going to be able to be a tag team that sustain themselves? Ethan Page taking on Carl Anderson on this Saturday's Final Resolution show. Where do you see things here, Bill, with Impact going into Final Resolution? Then they also have Hard to Kill, which is like less than 6 weeks away?
About 5 weeks.
About 5.
They didn't do as good of a job building this up as they did Turning Point.
No.
Say that.
Well, there was a fast turnaround, I think.
That plus, if you're having the AEW stuff, it kind of takes a back seat. But I feel like they should have focused. I mean, they're still editing the show, so they should have focused Kenny, Final Resolution, and then maybe throw in a few just story building matches like the Brian Myers and TJP one. Like, that made sense on the show.
Mm.
I can't say I'm too excited for this Saturday because I feel like
it's overwhelmed by all this other stuff, man.
Everything else going on. So
it's weird to say that they're having one of the biggest impacts they've had in years. And we're not talking about what they're doing on their own streaming service. We're not talking about what's going on with Hard to Kill. But at the same time, if you're a fan of Impact through all this, or at least you want them to benefit from this, I think they did. This is marketing they couldn't buy with their own product. They couldn't buy with their own money. And this makes them look bigger than they've looked in a very long time. So overall, thumbs up edition of Impact Wrestling. I know we didn't get too deep into the show, but if you want to seek it out, some very, very good wrestling. Brian Myers and TJP, I think, had a really, really good match too as well. If you like good submission style wrestling. Robert, are you excited to see the Lex Luger moves that we could get tonight on Dynamite Wrestling or Impact Dynamite or whatever it's going to be now?
It's AEW Dynamite. It may be AEW Impact before we're all said and done.
AEW presents Impact Wrestling.
I'm going to
in
say
association
this.
with New Japan Pro Wrestling, partnered with NWA.
Do not sleep on Final Resolution. Last month, they delivered a better show than Bound for Glory on their streaming service. And I think they know that they have these cards. who's to say? Now, I have no prior knowledge of anything, but who is to say that an AEW guy doesn't answer Rohit's challenge? Why not? You never know. You don't know how long any of this has been in the works. So
surprises on a pay-per-view event. You gotta love them, right, Bill? When people pay their money to watch your event and you give them some extra big surprise, we've seen this so many times. We've seen it at the Royal Rumble. It's a big reason why people tune into the Royal Rumble is surprises. Wrestling fans always love opening up a box and what's in the box, right?
I'd like to be surprised. I don't think we're going to get anything like that unless it's another pre-tape.
Okay.
Just because, other circumstances would make you think this whole event has already been taped. But, if the rumor or the report is that they did the Kenny thing, they all flew to Canada and sent up a few people. It's like, why would you fly up just to do a 12-minute segment on a bus? Like, I feel like they have to have something else in the bag. So I will go that far. I wouldn't say tune in to Final Resolution expecting another interview or whatever we got last night. But it would be a nice surprise. And I think the matches on paper are good. It's just, back to my other point. It's hard to get excited when it's overshadowed by all this other stuff going on.
Yeah. I don't, but like I said, I don't think you should be too worried. This got a lot of attention for them that they need, and they feel like a bigger brand than they did the day before. So mission accomplished in that regard. So we go ahead. We'll have full coverage of Final Resolution at WrestleZone.com. So if you're like one of those people that was tweeting at us like crazy, where do I find Access TV? I can't get it out of my cable. Is it on Twitch? Is it on this? Expect Impact to start putting out more content on free over the internet channels. They did that last night. I think they were pretty successful with it, as I mentioned, on Twitch as well. Before we sign off, do want to mention the fun things I'm doing with 101 WKQX. Surprises on a pay-per-view event, Bill. We have a couple. 101 WKQX presents the virtual Night We Stole Christmas, December 23rd. Glass Animals, Cold War Kids, Wallows, and surprises that the music world will be talking about before the end of the night. A Festivus, not for the rest of us, but for all of us. And $1 from every ticket, $17.50 to stay at home and watch something. That's money you're not spending at the bar because you can't go to the bar, Bill. You're not supposed to. Don't go. So $1 from every ticket goes to Volunteer Match, a great organization that's going to help out a lot of people through their Project Shine issue to really connect people with charitable causes in 2021, get us back on track. That's my plug. Robert, you have plugs. I know you have plugs.
I do have plugs.
Wait. We need to give Robert some extra time. We'll give him 2 minutes to talk about his feelings on the X Division.
Oh, yeah.
Bill, I'm trying to stay in our time frame, and then the show
okay with it.
You did everything, but yeah, go ahead. Let's interrupt plugs for
this
Robert.
division. This division needs to change. You need to call it the AEW Access Championship. Just NA. It's the Access Division now. It's
the Access Division.
I actually like that.
Change.
We'll save this for next week, but the Access Championship makes sense.
Doesn't it?
It's the network championship, the television championship, but it's the Access Championship.
And
the winner gets to have a jam session with Sammy Hagar on Sammy Hagar's Music on the Road show.
To be live in person for Ringo Starr's next birthday celebration.
You know what? I think that's a hell of a prize.
Impact.
That is a hell of a prize.
Tremendous. Let's that in.
If you want plugs, I can give you some plugs. You can follow me on Twitter at DeFelice. Check out everything I'm doing at WrestleZone Monday through Friday. Check out what I'm doing on Fightful Friday through Sunday. I'm everywhere. I'm on the Wednesday at War podcast with Sean Ross South and Alex Pulowski tonight after AEW and NXT.
I'm going head to head with Robert. I'm going head to head with him.
You should check out this first because we are on their channel, and that seems like the proper thing to say. when you're done with that, you can come over and check me out too.
Do you guys have a bus?
Yeah, do you have a bus?
We're getting a bus.
We're getting a bus, bro? Bill, we're getting a bus? All right, we're getting a bus.
We get the Blue Chew sponsored bus. It's a very long.
It's larger than your bus.
Sure is.
Oh man, we had a wild fun show. If you just caught the live stream at the end, you definitely want to scroll back to the beginning. We had some fun stuff here. Of course, Bill, you are busy. They can follow you on Twitter where?
B Pritchard 152. I'll plug a couple interviews I'm doing later today. I have Dan Gable.
Whoa, Dan Gable?
Yeah,
Dan Gable just got a Medal of Freedom from the president.
Wait, what?
Yeah. I kept that one quiet, but he's in a new movie. It's called The Last Champion. It's out on digital platforms now. It's actually pretty good. It's Cole Hauser. Like you guys probably know him from a few things, but Dan Gable's in the movie. It's a wrestling centric, amateur wrestling movie, and I'll be talking to him later today. It just so happened that the Medal of Freedom announcement came after that, so
okay.
Talk to him about that. I thought that was like really cool. And then I have Rhett Titus later this afternoon. He's going to be one of the participants in the first ever Pure Rules tag team match that's going down at Final Battle.
Ring of Honor.
Yeah. And then, I have a couple more that I'll save until they're confirmed.
Dominic,
but those two I can confirm.
Can we say that? I just did.
What'd you say, Robert?
Dominic interviewed Arn Anderson.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Dom wrapped Arn Anderson, so we have that. And I have one wrapped with Taylor Wilde, too. So
Tons of content. So if you're following us on Facebook, turn on your notifications so you know when you can catch these interviews. If you're following us on YouTube, turn on your notifications so you can catch these interviews. If you want to read it or listen to them, go to WrestleZone.com. Also subscribe. Multiple ways to consume all the things of WrestleZone. The zone is wherever you need it to be. All right. So go to WrestleZone.com for all that. Tons of that stuff for free. No Patreon, no paywall, baby. All right. So go on there and check it all out. A bunch of exclusive content that we're doing. And of course, we'll be live after Monday Night Raw, after AEW NXT, after your pay-per-views coming up. A bunch of breaking news. I know we'll have a news flash up later today about Bill Goldberg, baby. Bill Goldberg. Oh boy, people are gonna get mad about Bill Goldberg.
I'm already mad about Bill Goldberg.
Bill's name is Bill, and he's mad about it.
That's why I was laughing hysterically when we came on air, because I'm reading the comments on Twitter.
just immediately, like, Bill Goldberg, never change.
All right, stay tuned for that. We'll have that up later today. And of course, we'll be live after AEW and NXT. Make sure those notifications are on. Remember, when watching wrestling, Robert, tell them what they got to do.
There's nothing wrong with platforms that use paywalls and Patreons. Enjoy wrestling.
You ass. You skeeve. I don't even know. Bill, you're the boss, man. Tell them what they got to do when they watch.
I already did.
Watch our free stuff and help us get a coupon code for dick pills. We'll sell our own.